The movie rating website RottenTomatoes.com, which has been scandal plagued for years, has decided to engage in another scandal by revoking the credentials of Matt from Matt's Movie Reviews, who happens to be a friend of the Studio Jake vidcast. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute, going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the Studio Jake vidcast, where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that little bell if you're watching on YouTube, and consider becoming a channel member. So, the critic and audience score related website, Rotten Tomatoes, which curates reviews from some of the top critics of film as well as audience reviewers of films, and they compile them all together and give it a rating. And one of the few not stuffed shirt critics on there is Matt from Matt Movie Reviews. And Matt and I are friendly with each other. I have gone on his podcast a couple of times now. He's a really cool guy. And listen, we don't always agree on a movie. He didn't really like Reagan as a biopic. I thought Reagan was good as a biopic. That's just how it is and how it goes sometimes. You disagree. But no disagreement on the merits of a film should get you censored. That is what happened to him related to Rotten Tomatoes. They decided that they were just going to cut him off, that all of his reviews that he wrote that got curated on the website were going to be taken down. And I think that this is abhorrent on more than one level, which I'll get to in a minute. But first, I want to bring you what Matt had to say. He posted this statement on his social media pages just across the board. He writes, "This morning I received an email from the Rotten Tomatoes critics team that read, 'In reviewing your recent portfolio of work on Rotten Tomatoes, our team has concluded that your current reviews do not meet our criteria for tomato meter approval. As a result, I am no longer a Rotten Tomatoes approved critic, and all of my reviews listed on RT, 18 years worth, have been removed. To add insult to injury, I cannot reapply until March of 2027. I'm not sure exactly what reviews in my recent portfolio have led to this expulsion from RT. My most recent reviews include a negative one of Conclave, which is distributed by NBC Universal, who also own Fandango/Rotten Tomatoes, and a positive review of the Matt Walsh documentary, Am I a Racist? What is the most heartbreaking for me is that the countless reviews of indie genre and documentary film that don't necessarily get that much exposure are no longer a part of the biggest movie review database. To all of those filmmakers who put their trust in me to review and in some cases advocate for your movies, I am so sorry. I don't know what I did that led to this purge. RT refused to get back to me when I asked the specific reasons for why this happened. For those who are willing to do so, I encourage you to email Rotten Tomatoes and ask them to add me back as a tomato approved critic here." And he gives the email address. In the meantime, I will keep working like I always have. God bless, Matt. And like I said, I know Matt. He's a cool guy. He really understands filmmaking. He doesn't come at it from some snooty, snobby, elitist way. He actually cares about the art of cinema. He looks at a movie in a way where he wants to advocate for it, where he wants to get it out there and understand it. And I think that is really cool. I think good for him. And, like I said, he and I disagree on our takes about movies sometimes. And I went on his podcast where he and I talked about some of those differences. I don't care about that. He and I still love cinema. And like I always say, I don't consider myself a film critic like Matt. I consider myself a movie reviewer. Matt looks at it from the grand scheme of cinema. Where is this movie's place in cinematic history? I look at it from the perspective of, what would the audience think about this? How can I tell the audience this is the simplest way that you will or will not like this film? And those are two totally valid positions. Rotten Tomatoes is rotten to the core. And this isn't the first time that Rotten Tomatoes has been involved in fixing a film. By the way, they have had numerous scandals where they got busted censoring professional critics who don't like a certain movie, or fixing the audience score where they heavily disagree with the critics, whether it be for negative or for positive reasons. Now, how Rotten Tomatoes is supposed to rate a movie is they have the critic score, the tomato meter, where they get a consensus of their approved critics, and then they say, okay, do critics like this movie? Is it positive, negative? And if it's positive, they have a fresh tomato that they put out. If it's negative, it looks like a green rotten tomato, kind of like a splat basically. And if it's a really good consensus, they have what's called certified fresh. Now for the audience score, if the audience gives it a bad review, it has a popcorn box that's tipped over. If it's a positive score, it has a box that's filled up with popcorn. And if it's both, then it's definitely going to be certified fresh. So what Matt was doing was he was looking at a lot of indie films that may not get a lot of recognition. It could be because they didn't get a wide theatrical release. They mainly stuck to film festivals and then eventually went to streaming. That was his primarily focus. And I know that that is something he was very passionate about, which I appreciate. I also like to shout out indie creators, mainly on the comic book scale of pop culture more so, but I also like looking at indie projects. So if an indie creator messages me and like, hey, will you take a look at my film? Usually I'll watch it and enjoy it or not enjoy it, depending. One time I got invited to a red carpet premiere and a friend of mine was doing the PR for this movie, which is how I got a ticket. And the movie was actually so bad, I snuck out of the theater. That is how it goes sometimes. You just have to take the hits where you can get them. And I know Matt was doing that in especially the indie space. He was highlighting films that were otherwise being ignored by a lot of the mainstream corporate type movie critics, and good for him. And this move by Rotten Tomatoes is really disturbing. It's really gross. Like I said, they had been caught doing all kinds of censorship of movies. For instance, if it was a movie, let's take an example like Terror on the Prairie, right? So it's got a star who had been, for lack of a better term, basically kicked out of Disney in Gina Carano, and a lot of critics were just giving it bad reviews because Gina Carano was in it and because of the studio behind its production. So they were fixing it where it looked like those were negative, all negative reviews, so the movie would look worse than it was. They were also doing the opposite of that. And in some cases, there were allegations that they were being paid to make bad movies look good on the tomato meter to give the idea that it was good. Now, they were also doing this really nasty thing where, say, the critics really love some pretentious bigwigs film and they were giving it all these good reviews, and then the audience was like, this movie sucks. They were censoring people. Even if you were a registered Rotten Tomato member, they were censoring you so it would look like the movie had a more positive audience reaction than it actually did. They got busted doing this several times, got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and like I said, there were several allegations that they were being paid to do this. Now, I do think it's kind of a conflict of interest, shall we say, that NBC Universal, which owns obviously Universal Pictures, co-owns Fandango and Rotten Tomato. Wouldn't it be interesting if Matt, who wrote a negative review of Conclave, which is a Universal production, and then suddenly he's censored? That's very interesting to me. Does Universal have a reason to censor a movie critic who gave his honest thoughts on a movie that he didn't like because they own the Critic Score website? That's very interesting. Not to mention they own Fandango, which is a ticket purchasing app. Wouldn't that be interesting if they, put more people onto a movie like Conclave? I find that highly suspicious, just saying. But I hope that you will reach out to Matt and give him some love. I linked all of his major social media pages in the description of this video, as well as his merch store. So head on over, show him some love if you watch this video, so that he knows that there are a community of people who love cinema, who like him. And also go to his YouTube channel and subscribe there. We all need to come together, especially of those of us who exist to promote indie projects. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. You can also support me on my locals community. That's if you don't like big tech, or if you just want to support me. I really appreciate it. You can become a monthly subscriber or send me tips to the articles that I post there. You can also pick up one or all of my novels. They're all available on Amazon. Just search the titles: Cacophony, The Seven Royals, All Good Things, The Seven Royals, Breaking the Stars, and Blessed Child. Just search them and my name, Jacob Berry, Find them, buy them, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.